Special thanks to Campaign for Liberty for providing that clip. And for more information on how you can get involved in supporting this bill, please go to campaignforliberty.org and also the Grassroots website and thefed.us. It's time now to wind down this report with the first in a series featuring Sheriff Richard Mack discussing the power of the sheriff.
The county sheriff is the only elected law enforcement officer in the United States, and certainly in his county. So he's the only official that reports directly to the power source. In other words, he's not a bureaucrat. He wasn't appointed by some other body. He reports directly to we, the people. And so he is sovereign in that regard because he reports directly to the other sovereigns. And that's why the sheriff is the ultimate authority. He's not a bureaucrat from Washington, D.C. The President of the United States cannot tell your sheriff what to do. And so certainly none of the other auxiliary departments underneath the President can tell the sheriff what to do, and that includes the IRS, the EPA, OSHA, FBI, DEA. Any of those agencies cannot tell the sheriff what to do. But when they're in his sovereign jurisdiction, he can tell them what to do. The question is, will he? It's really alarming how many peace officers, policemen, law enforcement officers, sheriffs, chiefs of police, who have actually taken an oath of office to uphold and defend, protect and preserve the United States Constitution. And then when you present them with that thought or idea that that's exactly what they should be doing, they claim that it isn't their job to uphold and defend the Constitution, that which they've already sworn an oath to do. And so that's what really I find very disturbing. But I think it's the evolution that has taken place in our country today. And also it's a result or a consequence or a branch of what's wrong with America. America is off track. We have replaced our Constitution, which was the bulwark of our freedom in this country, with political agendas, political selfishness, and ultimately political correctness has replaced our Constitution. And so is it any wonder that we're so far off track? And my message is law enforcement owns part of that problem, and we need to correct it. No, the governor and the sheriff are pretty much equal. The governor is the sovereign leader over the state. The sheriff would probably supersede the governor within his county because he is the ultimate protector of the people within his jurisdiction. He can't let anybody violate the Constitution in his county. He cannot allow anyone to violate the rights of the people within his jurisdiction. It doesn't matter if it's the governor or the president, the IRS, FBI. He is in charge of protecting the constitutional freedoms of his jurisdiction. The governor, yeah, oversees the state, and she is, or he, very powerful, and they are equal in some ways and have the same responsibility to the people who elect them, and that is to uphold and defend their Constitution. I was probably the first sheriff in the United States to sue the federal government for doing that very thing, for promulgating a bill or law or statute that directly commandeers the sheriff for federal bidding. As I look back, I'm really grateful that we won a case at the United States Supreme Court, and I still have yet to see if, throughout American history, that there's been another case won at the Supreme Court by a sheriff, by a sitting sheriff. Sheriff Prince and I ended up taking this case all the way to the Supreme Court. We won on this very issue of state sovereignty, local autonomy, and the power of the county. And so when or any other legislative body passes a law, a supposed law, that forces the sheriff to violate his oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution, what does he do? And Judge Roll, in my case, actually said that Sheriff Mack is thus forced to choose between keeping his oath or obeying the act. And I think he nailed it right on the head there. That's the key question. What does all of law enforcement and what do all the sheriffs across the country do when a statute forces them to violate their constitutional oath? Well, I think it's easy. You keep your word to your oath. That's the ultimate law. The supreme law of the land is the Constitution. Nothing supersedes the Constitution. So let's put it back in its proper place. And I would say there was a sheriff from Montana that did not join the lawsuit who I agree with. He did it the right way. He just said no. He said, we're not doing the Brady Bill in this county. And that was, I believe, Sheriff Nixon. And as I look back, I wish that that's what we had done. After looking back at my lawsuit and the subsequent victory in the U.S. Supreme Court, that I wish the sheriffs in Arizona had simply all signed a letter unitedly and sent it back to Washington, D.C., to the White House, and CC it over to the Congress and the Justice Department, letting them know we're not doing the Brady Bill in Arizona, and thank you very much for your efforts, but it won't be applied here. Yeah, that was a very powerful case, disavowed by the judge in the case, by the way, but it was a requirement of the settlement in the case that Sheriff Mattis devise a way to make sure that the federal government couldn't come in and do what they did to the Castañeda family, trying to arrest them. Well, they did arrest them at 1 o'clock in the morning for being illegal immigrants. And of course, nobody's trying to do that now when we have them all over the place, but the thing of it was, the Castañedas required that as part of their settlement. And Dave Mattis actually came up with the idea, and they were obeying it. The federal government was obeying it. And other counties in Wyoming also practiced the same policy. It wasn't a law, but it was a policy as established through a court order, or a court settlement, I should say. I don't believe they're doing it too much now. And so we've got a lot of work to do. Well, first thing I would love to see it be the county commissioners. The county commissioners should be supporting their sheriff with proper legislation or resolutions to have him enforce the Constitution. So if they pass a law saying federal government, let's say they have this H.R. 45 that Barack Obama's trying to shove down our throats right now, to have a national registry for firearms and firearm owners in this country, and to have a national licensure granted from Washington, D.C. to keep and bear arms, which is already guaranteed in the Second Amendment. Let's say that that is really going to be pushed, and the federal government is going to come out and perhaps confiscate weapons and or ammunition. So what does the local authority do? Well, the county commission passes a resolution saying that there will be no more federal gun control in this county, and the sheriff enforces it. And so when the feds come in, the sheriff stands. He shouldn't need that resolution, but it would be nice to have it, because the Second Amendment is there, and he's already sworn, we're back to that again, he's already sworn an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, of which the Second Amendment is a part, is a key integral part of the freedom as established by our founders. And why was the Second Amendment put there in the first place? Well, that's what we need to all understand. The intent of the Founding Fathers on the Second Amendment was so that the people of this country would have the final say in controlling their government. And the ultimate power of the Second Amendment is that the people remain in charge to be able to fight off abusive government. That's why the Second Amendment's there. So yeah, and the other one that really needs to back the sheriff in what's going on is the county attorney. it's not essential to have those others. The sheriff can do it on his own. He doesn't need to ask permission of anybody in the county or across the country. He doesn't need to ask the barber down on Main Street or anyone else how he's going to keep his oath of office. He's bound by his word, and he's also bound by the Constitution.